the global organization of heredity and genes. Well, everybody knows that heredity is about chromosomes, DNA, and genes. But it is important to know what is it that we're talking about. Chromosomes are objects. Small, very small, extremely small, but still objects. You see them in the microscope, you could almost pick them up with tweezers. These objects are very special because they can reproduce and be passed on from generation to generation to generation, spanning centuries, spanning millennia, making up the history of humanity, for instance. But who says reproduction implies copying? It is an amazing copying mechanism. It is called replication, and it is a good thing in a healthy person. Chromosomes contain DNA, lots of DNA, and this DNA must also be replicated. So there is an incredibly smart molecular machine that replicates DNA. It is called DNA polymerase. Biologists use DNA polymerase every time they need to grow more DNA. But DNA is not an object at all. It is a molecule. It is much, much, much too small to be picked by tweezers. In fact, it stands for deoxyribonucleic acid. Acid. It is a chemical. And, like any chemical, it can only be manipulated by chemistry or biochemistry. DNA is a polymer. It is made up of variable sequences of 4 building blocks. A, T, G, T, C, C, A, T, etc. This is how DNA can encode a gene. And genes are a good thing in a healthy person. But genes have no physical reality in themselves. They're like language. They have a meaning. They are, in fact, instructions. And they must be read when gene expression is turned on. To summarize, studying heredity means studying 3 different levels of reality. Chromosomes are objects. DNA is a chemical. And genes is abstract code. Heredity is a bit like a chef that manages a restaurant and cookbooks. These cookbooks must be opened and the many recipes they contain made accessible for reading. Cookbooks must also be reprinted for future chefs and restaurants by book printing machines. These are DNA polymerases. And the genes printed in DNA are like recipes printed in ink.